hardware and building center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice. And by the 2014 Honda Odyssey, the world's first minivan with a built-in vacuum. Honda, the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome to Rogers Center. The roof is wide open. It is a very comfortable 17 degrees tonight. Nothing's very comfortable in the Yankees dugout right now. Joe Girardi's team has lost 4 straight, and their playoff hopes are diminishing quickly. Now it's time to take a look at the lineups. The starting lineups are brought to you by Quaker Steak. Real, durable oil. Curtis Granderson continues to hit the leadoff spot, replacing Brett Gardner, who's battling an oblique injury. Alex Rodriguez has worn out Blue Jay pitching here at Rogers Center. 36 career home runs and 97 RBIs in 107 career games right here at Rogers Center. Alfonso Soriano against Jay Happ has gone 5 for 14 with a double, 3 home runs and 7 RBIs. The Blue Jays handled Soriano very well last night. He was just 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
Already Dickey handled everybody in that shutout. Jay Happ 4-6 with a .515 earned run average in 15 starts this season. He's trying to finish the season on a better note after losing 4 of his last 5 starts. Blue Jays are going to need a little bit more length from Jay in the start. He hasn't completed 6 innings in 6 straight starts. This will be his 4th start versus the Yankees. He hasn't beaten them. He's 0-2 this season.
Defense behind Jay Happ has got lots of speed tonight. Anthony Gose is in left field. Colby Rasmussen center, and Rajay Davis is in right. On the infield, it's Laurie at third base, Reyes at short. Ryan Goins committed his first error in his young big league career last night. Adam Lynch at first, and J.P. Arancibia is back behind the plate.
7 right-handed batters in the lineup against the lefty. We get to see Brett Laurie. Made an outstanding play again last night. I bet we see another one from him here tonight.
With the left-hander on the mound, you would think there will be some balls hit the left side of the infield. Curtis Granderson takes the ball outside, and we are underway. Granderson reached twice last night. He had a single in the second and reached on an air in the 8th. Driven down the left side and well back out of play. Blue Jays won 2-0 last night. They out-hit the Yankees 9-5. Jay Happ, as we mentioned, making his 4th start of the season against New York. Up and away.
Well, I think for him to be successful tonight, he's going to have the approach that he had a couple of starts ago against Minnesota. Just pound down. That's the only thing he was thinking about. I need to throw strikes, and I need to keep it down in the strike zone.
This is popped up. Brett Laurie, the third baseman, over near the seats, cruising to the wall, and it's about 4 rows back out of play. Boy, you're right. You look back at that Minnesota start, 5 2/3, 5 hits. He allowed an unearned run, and he was effective. But then again, that wasn't the New York Yankees. It was the Minnesota Twins. But still, if he locates his pitches, and he certainly has the quality pitches to be effective, he's just got to locate better.
Yeah, granted, it wasn't, the Bronx Bombers. But if you get the ball down and you make a good pitch, you can get anybody out.
Laurie again, and almost in the identical spot. A couple of rows back out of play.
Instant replay. Right there.
Stay over there, Brent.
Well, you got to believe that Curtis Granderson wants to do some damage against Jay Happ, because he really set him on a shelf early this season.
First at bat of spring training, Jay Happ hit Granderson, and he suffered a broken hand. That was the first of many injuries for the Yankees. Pitch up and in. Full count. One of the real problems for Jay has been pitch efficiency, and once again he's already thrown 5 pitches to the first batter, and he walks Granderson, ball 4.
Let's take a look at the scouting report while I have a chance for Jay Happ. You're going to see a lot of fastballs, and I think if he gets the ball out of his glove a little bit quicker, that'll get the arm up, and that'll help to get the ball down. Almost 70% of his pitches this year are fastballs, so he's going to have to control it, pound down with that, use the changeup, curve, and slider to set up that fastball.
So Alex Rodriguez, we mentioned his career numbers here at Rogers Center: 36 home runs and 97 RBIs on 107 career games here against the Blue Jays. There's a strike, catches the outside corner. Rodriguez was 0 for 4 last night. He struck out twice. Sergio Santos dispatched him in 3 pitches. It was no contest.
Fastball down and away, and A-Rod just couldn't pull the trigger.
Rodriguez, of course, missed a big chunk of the season because of his hip surgery in the offseason. Rodriguez playing in his 38th game of the season tonight.
He's banged up again. He had a calf injury and a hamstring problem in that series where the Yankees just came from Boston.
High fly ball deep to right field. Rasmus tracking it down on the warning track. Rajay Davis is there. He makes the catch. Granderson tags and advances to second. Rodriguez gave it a ride. Rajay Davis got back there quickly, and Granderson picked up on the fact it was going to be caught.
That was a heck of a base running job by Granderson right there. With Jay Happ on the mound, you're going to get a lot of fly balls, and that's why John Gibbons has the speed that he does in the outfield. You're going to get a lot of fly balls. So that one sent Rajay right to the wall in right field. Granderson goes back, recognizes that the ball's not going to leave the yard, and is able to move up 90 feet.
Well, that's a good piece of base running by Granderson. So Granderson's in scoring position for Robinson Cano. Cano, another terrific season. 27 homers and 103 driven in. Goes after the first pitch. He's not had a lot of success against Jay Happ, just 3 for 14 for his career. Robinson Cano is an interesting study in free agency. He will be a free agent at the end of this year. And the prospects of him being in another uniform, I think, are getting greater and greater as the Yankees continue to fall further out of the wild card hunt.
Well, he's had another great year. I mean, great year. 300. Real good chance that he's going to hit 30, drive in 100, and play stellar defense. Albie Cano has played pretty much every day, all season long. He's only had 5 errors. So he is ready for a big payday.
See what he's done against the Blue Jays this year, a 344 average. There's a base hit to left field. Ghost plays it on one hop. Granderson's getting the stop sign. Ghost hustled it back in quickly. Cano picks up the base hit. It's first and third, 1 out.
That's why it's so tough to pitch to Robinson Cano, because he can hit the ball all over the place. Like another fastball from Happ, down and away. And you can see Cano, he's got his eyes right on that baseball. Head down, drives it right over the head of Reyes. Hit too hard for Granderson to score.
Especially this part of the ball game with your cleanup hitter coming up. No reason to gamble whatsoever. Robbie Thompson, the third base coach, stopped Granderson, and he didn't have any thoughts of sending him. So Alfonso Soriano, arguably the best midseason pickup by any club in baseball this year. Soriano's been bothered by a sprained right thumb, and it's really hurt him at the plate. He's really not been able to drive the ball with much authority.
Yeah, he says he's not trying for home runs. He's just trying to make some solid contact right now because that thumb is bothering him. And if you don't hit the ball squarely, it can really reverberate through your hand.
Chased a bad pitch off the plate outside. It's a ball in the strike.
But you're right. He has become the best trade deadline acquisition by any team. And when the Yankees acquired him, nobody went, wow, did you see who the Yankees got today? He said, oh, Soriano's going back to the Yankees.
Nobody thought it was a big deal. Jay Happ gets ahead of him 1-2. Since Joe Girardi's had Soriano in the lineup, Alfonso has delivered 15 home runs and 47 RBIs in 48 games. He is a product of his environment, and he loves being back in a Yankee uniform.
I think
stays alive.
I think he also likes being in a pennant race also, from the Cubs to here.
You see the RBI since July 26th. That's the date Soriano came to the Yankees. He's ahead of Mark Trumbo of the Angels. Cabrera, of course, has been slowed by a couple different injuries, and Chris Davis, as hot as he's been, Soriano has outproduced all of them. Strike 3 called. Jay Happ finds the bottom part of the strike zone. Big strikeout for Happ, 2 down in the inning.
Well, with those home runs, you'll get some strikeouts, not a lot of walks. 54 strikeouts, 12 walks since Soriano's come here. And Happ paints him down. That's where he's going to have to be successful.
Well, Jay Happ now 1 out away from getting out of this first inning jam. Vernon Wells is just 1 for 10 against Jay Happ. Well, he got off to a great start, but has slowed dramatically. 2 outs. Wells for the season now hitting .241.
Boy, he absolutely wore out the Blue Jays early this year. Right when he went to New York, season started, and it seemed like every time he came up, he was coming up with big hits for the Yankees.
Fly ball to center. Rasmus moving to his left. Plenty of room, and the inning is over. Jay Happ gets a big strikeout and a fly out to leave a pair. Yankees strand 3 in the first last night, 2 tonight. Some respect after the Yankees have played them tough all year long. Last night's win was just the 4th against New York all season long. Jose Reyes, Rajai Davis, Brett Lawrie, top 3 in the order. Colby Rasmus is in the 5th spot, and since his return off the disabled list, he's gone 4 for 11 with 3 homers and 4 RBIs. Looked like he never missed a beat. Moises Sierra against Phil Hughes, tonight's Yankee starter, 6 for 11 with a homer and 5 RBIs against the Yankees right-hander.
He'll challenge him with a fastball, and he's been turning that around. Phil Hughes returned to the rotation last Thursday after being skipped in a start, but it didn't last very long. He only pitched 3 innings, gave up a run and threw 50 pitches, and then he was pulled for David Huff. This is the 4th time that the Jays have seen Hughes this season.
Defense has been a problem for the Yankees all season long with all of the injuries. Soriano is in left field. Granderson takes over in center for Brett Gardner. And Vernon Wells is in the outfield. Nunez starts at third base tonight. Brendan Ryan made a terrific play last night at shortstop. Cano, a 2-time Gold Glover. Mark Reynolds starts at first for the 15th time. And the rookie J.R. Murphy is making his second big league start.
You know, you talk about third base and all the problems that they've had there. They've used 11 third basemen this season. Eduardo Nunez gets the start, 5th start at third for him. 11 third basemen. Do you know who played a little third base for him this year? Vernon Wells. I mean, it's been like that for the Yankees.
Vernon Wells finished out a ball game at third base. Ball and a strike to the Blue Jays leadoff man, Jose Reyes. He gets jammed, may have broken his bat, and he's going to have to get some new lumber. Phil Hughes is one of those guys that makes you scratch your head. When you look at his stuff, he's 27 years old. He's had some good seasons in the past for the Yankees, but when you look at his record this year, you go, what's wrong with this picture? His stuff is as good as many pitchers in the league. He's 4-13 with an ERA over 5.
Well, you're right. Came up and looked like he was going to be one of those starting pitchers that were going to be there for a while, and then they moved him into the bullpen as a setup man in front of Mariano Rivera. Then back to the rotation. He hasn't been the same.
There's a base hit for Reyes. He is going to head for second base. Wells plays it off the wall, and Reyes starts things off with a leadoff double. Double number 19 for Reyes.
Jose swinging the bat a lot better, and I think a lot of it has to do with his ankle finally getting healthy. He can anchor that back foot when he is hitting left-handed. You can see he's got a lot of power, and here comes the speed. He's going to make this easily. A harmless single into right field on the turf. He turns it into a double.
Play was right in front of him. He saw that ball get past Vernon Wells, and he ends up at second. Rajay Davis hit his 6th home run last night against Sean Kelly. Shows bunt, takes a strike. Davis has had a fine season as a backup outfielder, 261 average. Of course, he's got 41 steals. And he seems to be the type of guy that can sit around for 3 or 4 days and come into a ball game and have an impact.
And that is hard to do. He's always going to be an impact because he can run. He's a free agent at the end of the season. It'll be very interesting to see what the Blue Jays decide on Rajay. I think he's the perfect type of 4th outfielder. A guy who can play center field, and he can help you with his legs.
Center field is the key. If you have an extra outfielder that can play center, you really have a bonus. It's like having an extra spot on the roster. And Rajay can do that, of course. He can play all 3 outfield positions.
And he's made some of the best catches I've seen over the last couple of years. Last year, I believe it was the Yankees when he went up in left field over the wall to take away a home run.
Fights it off and stays alive. Hughes not pleased with the last location of that pitch. He missed up and in. Hughes is 27 years old, and he will be a free agent at the end of the year. And it's interesting how the free agent pitching market is kind of getting a little stronger at the end of the season. Ricky Nolasco and Scott Feldman are both pitching very well in pennant races. Popped up. Cano at second makes the easy play.
One down here in the first inning. Let's take a look at the scouting report for Phil Hughes. He's a lot like Jay Happ. He likes to use his fastball. He'll try and pitch off of it. Just hasn't been able to throw it where he needs to, I think, to be effective. He'll mix in a curve, a changeup, and a slider. He had a cutter. They took that away from him. But mainly, he's just going to try and pound you with that fastball. What the Blue Jays are going to have to do is they're going to have to make sure he gets it in the strike zone. And he will give up his share of home runs.
Brett Lawrie takes his strike. Hughes has given up 23 home runs this season. Lawrie has a home run against Phil Hughes. He's 5 for 18 going head-to-head with the Yankees righty. You got to believe that given their situation and how desperate the Yankees are, that Joe Girardi's going to have a short leash on Phil Hughes.
He did
a lot of arms in the pen.
He did last time in his last start.
There goes Reyes. Ball is bounced foul. Reyes had it stolen. Lawrie fouls it off. How difficult is it for a hitter to change your approach when you see a runner at second get a huge jump like that?
Well, there's a couple of things that you have to factor, and you got to factor very quickly. First of all, who's running and what kind of jump does he get? You can see it right behind the pitcher. You can see it. Brett can see that he took off. Second thing is, what's the pitch? Is it a fastball or a breaking ball? And that looked like a breaking ball right there out of the strike zone. It takes time to develop that ability to lay off of that pitch and let him steal.
Lawrie drives it to left. That's going to hang up for Soriano. If Reyes had stolen third base, that's a run. So now there are 2 outs. Lawrie flies out to left. That'll bring Adam Lind to the plate. Lind had a pinch hit single last night off the top of the fence in right field. He would eventually get thrown out at the plate on a double by Anthony Gose, also a pinch hitter. One of the best cutoffs and relays we have seen all year long, from Soriano to Ryan to J.R. Murphy. 2 down. Lynn has a pair of home runs against Phil Hughes. This is the 20th career start Hughes has made against the Blue Jays. So they have faced him a lot.
Every time we face the Yankees in a series, it seems like we always get Phil Hughes. His turn always seems to come up. So there's a lot of at-bats by the Blue Jays in Phil Hughes. You mentioned the 2 home runs by Lynn. He's also struck out 14 times against Hughes in 38 at-bats.
There goes Reyes again, and Murphy will not make a throw. Ball in the strike. Reyes picks up the stolen base. That's number 15 for Reyes.
Well, it's a good jump. And also the third baseman, Nunez, because it's Adam Lynn, he can't move. He's playing deep, and he's playing in the hole between short and second. So it's almost like the Yankees were giving Reyes third base.
Interesting now how deep the Yankees infield is. Both Cano and Brendan Ryan, the shortstop, are behind the outfield line, and Reyes got the attention of Phil Hughes. He came down about a third of the way toward home. Nunez isn't holding him close at all. Reyes continues to wander further and further off the base. One and two.
Well, if they're going to give you all of that, why not take as much as they're going to give you? Ball in the dirt, bounces away from Murphy just a little bit. He can score.
There's that ball in the dirt. Murphy did a good job of keeping it in front of him.
If that ball ricochets towards either dugout and goes just outside the dirt area, if Jose Reyes has that big lead, he can score. Obviously can't score on that one. It's right out in front of him. But if it goes either way, take a shot.
Murphy's a very athletic catcher. He's 22 years old, former second-round pick of the Yankees. Driven down the left side, and that's going to reach the seats out of play. J.R. Murphy's in his 5th season with the Yankees, his first year in the major leagues. He spent most of the season in AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Played 59 games in AAA and hit .270. He's had a good record of catching in the minor leagues. He's thrown out 30% of the runners he's attempted to catch in the minor leagues.
Austin Romine was in the lineup yesterday and then had to get scratched.
I spoke to Romine during batting practice this afternoon. I said, how do you feel? He said, sometimes I feel like I'm floating. Still bothering by the concussion symptoms. Joe Girardi had him in the lineup and thought he was good to go, but it's still going to be a couple of days before Romine is ready to catch. Full count. Bouncing ball past Hughes. Cano was deep. Throws on the run just in time to get Lynn. The Blue Jays get a leadoff double but can't cash in. It's scoreless after 1.
2014 Honda Odyssey, the world's first minivan with a built-in vacuum. Honda, the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
The schedule ticking down for the home half of the Blue Jays schedule after this game tonight. Just 4 more home games left. Mark Reynolds, the first baseman, takes a first pitch strike. Reynolds is 0 for 13 against J-Happ. Got 19 home runs combined, and this is got a chance to be 0 for 14, and it is popped up to Lind, 1 down.
Well, he throws that fastball at the top of the strike zone. You're going to have to really get on top of it. Got some fastball hitters on this team, the New York Yankees, Reynolds being one of them.
Here's a good fastball hitter, Eduardo Nunez. He's a first pitch fastball hitter if I've ever seen one. He steps in the box and he's ready to hack.
He's swinging on the on-deck circle, ready to let it go.
Up and away. Nunez has really had problems finding out where he's going to fit defensively. Got a chance to play for Jeter at short. This is a little fly ball to center. 2 quick outs for J-Happ.
Well, they were thinking about making him a super utility type of player a couple of years ago. Play some outfield, all around the infield. But his bat and legs are going to keep him in the big leagues, I think. He's got some above average tools.
So the catcher, J.R. Murphy. He is 2 for 5 since joining the Yankees. He appeared in last night's game as a defensive replacement. Came in the ball game in the 8th inning. Vernon Wells pinch hit for Chris Stewart, the catcher, and Murphy was catching late in the game. He's the one that put the tag on Adam Lind to end the 8th inning. Blocked the plate very effectively.
Didn't have to move. The throw was perfect from Ryan, deep left field. And just fired it in there right at the mitt. I mean, he was way out there.
Brendan Ryan made one of the best relays we've seen all year long. He took the relay throw on a hop and turned and fired a strike. 2-2.
Yankees have some catchers in their system. You read about it all the time that they've got some young catchers. Gary Sanchez, another one. Romine is a young player. This Murphy kid, young player.
3-2. Another full count for J-Happ, and his pitch count is closing in on 30. This next pitch will be 30 as Brendan Ryan waits in the on-deck circle. Cut on and miss. Murphy strikes out. Second strikeout of the ball game. The Yankees go down in order. No score. Middle of the second. for the 2014 season. Kobe Rasmus will start things off, and Rasmus got it going last night against Andy Pettit. Big breaking ball, he swings over the top. 21 homers for the season. He's at 2 since he's come off the DL. May have broken his bat. Cano in the outfield throws to first, 1 down. Fans, if you want your baseball questions answered by our team of experts, email asktheexperts@sportsnet.ca. Keep your eye out for the Home Hardware Ask the Experts segment later on in the game. Moises Sierra is the DH tonight. He has put up big numbers against Phil Hughes, 6 for 11 so far in his career.
It's a good matchup for him. Hughes will challenge him with fastballs, and you usually do that to a young player. See if they can hit your fastball, and Sierra has shown that.
There's that good breaking ball. It's in there for a strike.
Pettit pitched him really tough last night. I mean, he couldn't figure out that cutter at all. Struck him out his first 3 times up in yesterday's ball game. I thought Andy Pettit pitched a heck of a game last night.
You know what? He made a mistake, and he talked about the pitch he threw to Kobe Rasmus. He called it an idiot pitch. He was trying to bounce the breaking ball on the plate, left it out over the plate. Ball is hammered. That's an extra base hit down the left side. Another double for Moises Sierra. Soriano gets it back in quickly, and he continues to hit well against Phil Hughes. He's now 7 for 12 against the Yankees righty.
Since the end of August, no one has hit more doubles than that guy right there, Moises Sierra. Watch how he stays back. It looks like a breaking ball. Flattens his bat, and watch him extend now. Finish it with the head down and rip it right by Nunez, the third baseman. That's how you stay back on a breaking ball. Don't take anything for granted. Wide turn at second base.
Now Sierra with his 13th double. Average at 315 now for Sierra. Ryan Goins takes a first pitch strike.
You know, heading into this series right here, only the Angels and Oakland A's outfielders have had more extra base hits than the Blue Jays this year. They've got some pop in their outfield. Even with Jose Bautista now out of the lineup for about a month, they continue to get extra base hits.
Hughes jumps ahead of Goins. Goins hit a little bit of a rough patch recently. In last night's game, he was 0 for 2 with a walk coming into this series. He got 5 for his last 38 with 8 strikeouts.
A little bit in between right now when you see his approach at the plate.
Fly ball to right. Vernon Wells got a good jump. He runs it down, 2 down. Now Goins is retired. Hughes, you go all the way back to last August, and he's had problems.
Home runs, 33. He's given up an ERA of 5, and the 1-loss record not very good. And they were counting on him behind Sabathia and behind Kuroda that Phil Hughes was going to have a big year, but it's been a little bit over a year now that he has really struggled on the mound. And I think a lot of it has to go back to fastball, his fastball command, where it is.
JP Arancibia goes after the first pitch. JP's been scuffling of late over his last 13 games. He's 2 for 37. Average right at 200.
He's going to have to lay off that high fastball from Hughes. That is the book on him right now. Pound him up.
Two down. Another fastball at 94. The Blue Jays are now 0 for 19 with runners in scoring position. Going back to Saturday in the first inning of that ball game. Just haven't been able to come up with a big hit. 0-2. 3-pitch strikeout, and the inning is over. Another base runner stranded in scoring position. We'll go to the third. Still no score. Q-tip to keep you moving.
Well, for the second half, the earned run average, these are the 5 starters that the Blue Jays have used in the second half. Mark Burley, R.A. Dickey, I think you can pencil them in for next year, but the ERAs of the other 3 have got to come down if they're thinking about nailing down a spot for next season. Blue Jays, Todd Redmond, Happ, and Rogers all over 4. Happ and Rogers over 5. They got to go out and find some more pitching.
The unfortunate aspect of that is everybody else in baseball is going to be doing the same thing. And it's really difficult. You come up with starting pitching, and that's why the young pitcher in Japan becomes more and more interesting. Masahiro Tanaka, with the possibility of becoming a free agent. Brendan Ryan jumps back from an inside heater. Ryan was picked up from the Seattle Mariners in an effort to fill the void at shortstop when Derek Jeter injured himself for a final time this year, and he's always had a history of being able to pick it.
There is nothing wrong with his glove. They just have to figure out a way to get the bat started a little bit. He doesn't have to hit a lot if he's with the Yankees. Kevin Long might be able to help him out. He's one of the best hitting coaches in all of baseball.
Kevin Long likes his physical toolkit. Ryan's only 31 years old. This is his 7th big league season. He came up with the Cardinals. Played in the Cardinals in the 2009 NLDS. This is popped up into shallow right. Goins going out. He calls for it, makes the catch in front of Rajay Davis. 1 down. Back to the top of the order. It'll be Curtis Granderson. Granderson walked, but the Yankees left him on base. Yankees stranded 2 in the first. They have been struggling to deliver big hits as well. They had a terrible stretch of the 3 games in Fenway. They were swept by the Red Sox and went 3 for 20 with runners in scoring position.
Never thought I'd have to say it, but it's been almost 20 years, but Yankees are having trouble scoring runs. They have always had marquee players, star players, offensive players that can knock the ball out of the ballpark, but it just hasn't happened for them for the last week or so. Now, I know injuries have a problem and a reason for that. They're missing Mark Teixeira, Derek Jeter, of course, Brett Gardner. The Yankees have been trying to put runs on the board.
Yeah, they certainly haven't looked like the Bronx Bombers this year, that's for sure. And that's always been their marquee, the ability to erase deficits with one swing of the bat. Anderson went around. Another strikeout for Jay Happ. It's 3 already.
The 2014 Honda Odyssey, the world's first minivan with a built-in vacuum. Honda, the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Beautiful evening in Toronto. The roof is wide open. It is a gorgeous September night. Alex Rodriguez hearing the Bluebirds. Rodriguez flying out to the warning track in right. He is now 0 for 5 in this series.
Still have to be careful with Rodriguez. He's not the player he was when he was younger, but he's still dangerous. 7 doubles and 6 home runs at 130 at-bats.
Looking at him now, it's easy to forget what an impactful player he has been throughout his career. He is one of 4 major leaguers to have a 40-40 season, 40 homers and 40 stolen bases. He did that in 1998. Only Jose Canseco, Alex Rodriguez, Barry Bonds, and Alfonso Soriano have put together 40-40 seasons. And the Yankees have 2 of those in their lineup tonight. Ball 4 down and away. A 2-out walk to Rodriguez. So Rodriguez is aboard with the walk. That's the first walk issued by Jay Happ, and that'll bring Robinson Cano to the plate. Rodriguez no longer a threat to run. Nope. He's been dealing with leg problems. He left Sunday's game against Boston with a calf injury. He's been dealing with a hamstring problem and a calf injury, so he's not going to run.
And of course, he missed a lot of time because of those hip problems. Hip surgery from last year. But there was a time he was the finest player in the game. Played a demanding position at shortstop, MVP. Huge numbers. He put numbers up like power hitting first basemen or right fielders.
Playing a premium position. In 98, he had 42 home runs and stole 46 bases. I mean, those are numbers that are hard to imagine when you look at him now. He's slowed a lot. Of course, he's aged and gotten bigger, but he was a premier player at a premier defensive position.
Right in the middle of the diamond. Think of all the plays that you're involved with when you're a shortstop.
Hit hard. Rasmus shuffling back quickly. Gets there, and the inning is over. The Yankees strand another base runner. They've left 3 on so far. Anthony Ghost had a pinch hit double in last night's game. He'll start things off. Reyes has doubled and stole a base tonight. Rajay Davis, a homer in last night's game. September 19th. The game starts at 7:07 p.m. Make sure you call the Blue Jays at 416-341-1234. To order your Blue Jays tickets, you can always get your tickets by logging online to BlueJays.com or stop by most Rogers Plus locations. Maybe tomorrow you'll have a chance to see the great Mariano Rivera pitch for a final time here at Rogers Center.
You know what? I'm torn between that. I want to see him one more time because it's really cool in New York when they do it. Enter Sandman and he comes in and you want to see it. But I don't want the Blue Jays to lose.
Pop straight back over our head. You're right. You'd like to see him, but you only want to see him in a losing effort.
Yeah. Him coming in means the Blue Jays are behind.
What a career for Mariano Rivera, wrapping up an outstanding career. Anthony Gose with a ball on the strike. Gose, we mentioned he had a pinch hit double in last night's game in the 8th inning. Got fisted with that pitch right in on his hands. Yep. Farewell, Mo. You are a legend, but we are glad to see you go. How about Mariano Rivera? Boy, he has been dominant against the East teams. Postseason record unchallenged, and he's done it with class and dignity. There's some great comments from Dave Righetti, who was also a great closer for the Yankees. Righetti was asked why Rivera was able to be so effective, and Righetti said the only reason he's been able to stay on top so long is his mind has stayed right. And that is true. He's the same guy leaving as he was when he came in.
Well, there's so much pressure to pitch in New York and pitch on winning teams. Righetti knows. He was the closer for the Yankees for years and years, and if you blow a save in New York, it's a little bit different than blowing saves in other cities. And he gave him a great compliment by saying he's so strong mentally to withstand that over all those years.
Another foul back. Righetti said he's only met Mariano once, and that was in '97 when the Yankees retired Don Mattingly's number. He had a chance to shake his hand and say hello. But he said, I'd like to sit down and talk with him and just see where he's coming from and how he was able to do that. Because Righetti knows the challenges. But for someone to be as dominant as Mariano Rivera for 17 years, I don't care where you play, what a remarkable career. And a gentleman. Gose loses the battle with Hughes and strikes out. One down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Boston lost last night in a 9th inning situation. Danny Valencia snapped Koji Uehara's streak of 37 consecutive batters retired. Matt Wieters drove him in with a sac fly. It was a 3-2 ball game. Jake Peavy, 3 innings of no-hit ball, 1 walk and 5 strikeouts. There's another midseason acquisition. It turned out to be a good pickup. Jake Peavy. Jose Reyes, another good cut and another foul back.
Yeah, if Alfonso Soriano's number 1 and Ricky Nolasco's number 2, Jake Peavy's got to be up there also.
In the article we read today, it was Peavy in the 6th spot. It was a 3-way trade that the Red Sox gave up Iglesias and the White Sox gave up Avisail Garcia. And Garcia's doing a good job for the White Sox, hitting about 300, and Iglesias has changed a lot of people's mind in Detroit.
He can pick it, but because they have a deep farm system, Xander Bogaerts from the Boston Red Sox, they are able to trade Jose Iglesias and get what they need. Deep farm system for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, Bogaerts gave them the insurance of a backup at shortstop when Stephen Drew decides to leave or they decide to make a switch. They've got Bogaerts waiting in the wings. Fouled back. Everything's up to Reyes. He doubled on a breaking ball that was down his first time up and hit it all the way to the wall in right, a low line drive. Bottom of the third, it's a scoreless ball game. Reyes is seeing the ball well out of Hughes' hands. Been able to spoil all those tough pitches.
Tried to go soft on him right there after about 2 or 3 high fastballs. Jose said, nope, you're not going to do it with that one either. He stayed back long enough just to foul that tough pitch off.
This is popped into shallow center. Ryan going out makes the catch in front of Curtis Granderson. 2 down. Phil Hughes has set down 4 straight after giving up the 1-out double to Moises Sierra in the second. To finish up those thoughts about the midseason acquisitions, Ricky Nolasco is mentioned, going to the Dodgers. Scott Feldman going to the Orioles. Marlon Byrd's done a nice job for the Pirates. We mentioned Iglesias and Peavy. Ajay Davis fouls it back. How about Emilio Bonifacio hitting 300 for the Royals?
And giving them a little bit of a spark, too, offensively, stealing bases all the time, hitting second to let Hosmer move back into an RBI spot at number 3.
How about Mark Zepchinski doing a good job for the Indians? He's held the Indians and he's held opponents to a 3 for 30. Left-handed batters. Granderson on the move, makes a catch. Quick inning for Phil Hughes. We've played 3 innings here at Rogers Center. Yankees nothing, Blue Jays nothing. The Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid go back to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. It all starts tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 5 p.m. Pacific. Andy Reid was fired after a 4-12 season last year. Chip Kelly from the University of Oregon came in and brought that high-powered, up-tempo offense into the Eagles, and they're off to a good start.
Led by Michael Vick. He's always exciting to watch.
Alex Smith against Michael Vick in a matchup of quarterbacks and Andy Reid. You can bet it's going to be an emotional return for him back to Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Alfonso Soriano. We mentioned Soriano is a 30-30 guy. Well, he's one of 4 40-40 guys as well. Soriano had a breakthrough season in 2006 with the Washington Nationals, his only year in Washington, and he parlayed that into a huge contract with the Cubs. Soriano had 3 30-30 seasons with the Yankees, 2002, 2003, and 2005.
And you mentioned the other 40-40 guys, Alex Rodriguez. How about those two were traded for each other?
From Texas to New York.
Soriano went to Texas in that trade for A-Rod. Had some good years for the Rangers, too.
3-1. Ball 4. Another walk. This is a leadoff walk to Soriano. That's how the Yankees start the 4th. Soriano, like Alex Rodriguez, not as much of a threat to run. He has 8 steals and 11 attempts. But he is long past the 40 stolen base years. Brennan Wells, the former Blue Jay, batting .241 for the season.
You know, that's another thing with Brett Gardner out of this lineup for the New York Yankees. Really the one guy who could score runs all by himself. He can bunt, slash, get his way on, and then steal his way around the bases for Joe Girardi to manufacture runs all by himself. He's not in there right now.
He's battling an oblique problem, and chances are he won't return.
That's a big blow for him. He meant a lot to their offense.
Knocked down by Happ, and that's going to be an infield hit for Vernon Wells. Happ got a glove on it, and it's probably good that he did. That was probably going to sneak into center field. It was hit so hard.
If he comes up with it, great chance of a double play because it was hit so hard right at him. But unfortunately, he can't get anybody out. It hits in his glove, pops back out. It looked like Ryan Goins was going to cover on the comebacker. But no chance as that ball rolls on the turf away from him. Comes up with that. There's a chance they turn it over. Now the Yankees get the first 2 on.
Mark Reynolds popped up in foul ground to Lind his first time up. J.P. Arenciba asked for time. He was going through the set of signs, and Happ began to move into his set position, and Arenciba wasn't quite finished. No outs. Well, Reynolds takes a big cut.
Every time, fly ball pitcher, fly ball hitter. Really tough to try and get a double play here. Reynolds doesn't hit a lot of ground balls. All or nothing and a lot of fly balls.
Inside. Reynolds had big home run years in Arizona. His career high came in 2009. He had 44 home runs and drove in 102 for the Diamondbacks. Then he went to Baltimore, had a 37 homer season, and hit 23 last year. On the ground, Reyes, second for 1, back to first, double play.
Doesn't happen very often because he's a supreme fly ball type of hitter. But it looked like Jay Happ threw an off-speed pitch and got him out in front. And anything on the ground, Blue Jays have been turning it lately. Right around 6-4-3.
Only the 9th time Reynolds has grounded into a double play, and these two, Reyes and Goins, have done a terrific job turning 2 at second. They have worked very well together. Well, Soriano moves to third, but now there are 2 down. Eduardo Nunez, the third baseman tonight. First pitch swinging late on that high fastball. Nunez was on the DL like so many of his Yankee teammates this year back in May and missed 56 games. Late again. 0-2.
Gonna have to start it a little bit early. He's been tardy on that swing. They have used the DL so many times this year, the Yankees. Well, they've kept Steve Donahue very busy. He's the trainer for the Yankees.
19 players have had 26 different stints on the DL. Popped up. Goins backing into the outfield, calls for it, and Jay Happ gets out of it. Yankees leave another base runner through 4. They've stranded 4. We'll go to the bottom of the 4th. Blue Jays Hall of Famer Roberto Alomar will host a showcase baseball tournament at Rogers Center, highlighting some of Canada's best amateur baseball players with college eligibility. Tournament passes are now available at bluejays.com/T12. Bobby Alomar putting his name on a very interesting tournament. A lot of great talent, so make sure you check it out. Come on out to Rogers Center the 20th through the 24th. There'll be some great young college-eligible baseball players from across Canada.
And there'll be pro scouts here and college scouts here. It's a great opportunity for the young players to get recognized.
Brett Laurie fouls it back into the catcher's glove. Down the right side is a fair ball. Up against the wall. Wells bobbles it, and Laurie's going to make it to second. Vernon Wells played it perfectly, and when he went to pick it up, he dropped it. Laurie never hesitated and moves into second. It should be a double, and it is for Brett Laurie.
And the ball bounced right to Vernon Wells, and he had a shot. Because it was hit so hard by Laurie, goes the other way. Watch how it ricochets off the wall right to Wells. And in his haste to make a play, he drops it. This would have been interesting. Brett Laurie thinking double all the way. Cuts the corner, puts his head down, and makes it into second base with a leadoff double. Second leadoff double by the Blue Jays tonight. Now they got to bring him around.
Reyes started the game with a double. Lynn, high fly ball to center. Laurie is thinking about tagging, but it's too shallow. He's going to have to stay put at third. One down. Well, the New York Yankees are running out of time after this game. They have 10 games left on their schedule. You can see the Yankees are 3.5 back of the second wild card spot. The Indians had a big win last night in Kansas City. Michael Bourne had a triple and a home run late in that game to win it. The Orioles beat the Red Sox last night 3-2. Kansas City, of course, lost to the Indians. And how about out west? The Oakland A's were up 4-2 in the ninth this afternoon. Josh Hamilton hit a 2-run home run off Grant Balfour to tie it up. So the pennant race is still much to be decided.
Yeah, and it's going to be like that, I think, the rest of the way through. every night everybody's going to be scoreboard watching.
Colby Rasmus grounded out to second his first time up. David Huff, the left-hander, is loosening up in the bullpen, and the reason he is up is because he's pitched so well against the Blue Jays in relief. And we mentioned Phil Hughes was going to be on a short leash. I would have to say Joe Girardi's got to be pleased with what Hughes has given him so far tonight.
He has thrown 54 pitches, 41 of them strikes. So about 75% of the pitches have been strikes. He has looked good. But there's no tomorrow. Joe Girardi says we're running out of games. We need to win right now.
Yeah. Time to panic. Phil Hughes has been great after Yankee losses. He's 19-12 in his last 40 starts immediately after a Yankee loss, and that's the situation he's in tonight. High and deep and gone again. Rasmus has done it again. Rasmus, his 22nd home run of the season. He's homered in 4 consecutive games, tying Edwin Encarnacion, the second Blue Jay this season to hit home runs in 4 straight.
Well, he's so quick through the strike zone. That bat comes through and out. He's got a natural uppercut swing, a natural home run type of swing, and when he makes contact, no ballpark's going to hold him. This ball got out of here in a hurry.
And Phil Hughes will turn it over to the bullpen. One pitch to Colby Rasmus has changed the fortunes of this game. For Rasmus, he has one off his career high, home run number 22. Straight games since coming off the DL, and Chad Mottola likes what he sees. Rasmus is swinging it like he never left. J.P. Arancibia trying to get some of that mojo working.
Boy, he's got the home run swing out right now. David Huff will take over. Blue Jays sold David Huff back in August when he picked up for Adam Warren. He threw 5 shutout innings versus Blue Jays, only gave up 1 hit. He was claimed off waivers from Cleveland at the end of May. He has come here and he's looked good pitching out of the bullpen for the Yankees.
David Huff has worked twice out of the bullpen against the Blue Jays this year. A total of 8 1/3. He's allowed them just 1 hit. So that's why he is the first one out, taking over for Phil Hughes tonight. Joe Girardi hopeful that Huff has that magic against the Jays again tonight. Moises Sierra goes after the first pitch. You mentioned that outing here on the 21st of August, 5 innings of 1 hit ball. Then he pitched, that was in New York, and then he pitched here on the 26th. 3 1/3 of no hit ball.
The only hit, infield single by Brett Lawrie. That's it. They have just had trouble squaring up his pitches. Doesn't throw very hard. Fastball moves just a little bit. Sinker slider type of pitcher.
Oh, and 2. Cano positioned perfectly. Almost up the middle. Throws out Sierra. 2 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. He's got an update for us. The Rangers won last night and snapped their 7-game losing streak. Ian Kinsler hit the first pitch of the ball game out of the ballpark. And that gave the Rangers the lead for the first time. And they had really struggled to score runs. They hadn't homered in 8 straight games, I believe.
71 innings they had not homered. Longest home run drought by the Rangers since 1990. That's hard to believe. The Rangers, 71 straight innings without homering.
Yeah, they're a team that has been a powerful team. Derek Holland is the starter tonight, and he has really struggled of late. He has pitched well at the start of this ball game. Holland has gone 3 innings, allowed just 1 hit, and struck out a batter. Two and 1 to Ryan Goins. That's ball 3. Derek Holland for the Rangers hasn't won since August 4th. The Texas Rangers are in this slide because of their starting rotation. Entering last night's game, they were 1-12 with a 5.99 ERA. I don't care how much you hit. If you're not getting good starting pitching, you're going to lose.
They trade for Matt Garza, and he hasn't really helped them out either since he's come over.
There's a deep drive to right, and Ryan Goins has just hit his first big league homer.
Got to get that ball back. You'll want to put that one on your trophy case right there. 3-2 fastball. It gets the silent treatment from his teammates when he gets back into the dugout. Nobody. Sal, that away. Good man. Sal's a good guy. Gives him the high five. Now everybody's going to get
Reyes can't stand the silence. Nobody's going to say a word to the rookie. That you can't wipe that smile off his face. There's another hot shot off the bat of Arancibia. There they are.
Nothing like your first big league homer. 3-2 fastball, and he crushed it. And it's a no doubt about it home run.
Not a great feeling for a young guy. J.P. Arancibia with the ball and the strike.
Take a look at it one more time. 3-2. He's got to challenge him. And Ryan, he's on the board.
He's got a big league homer. Arancibia hits it a mile high into center field. Granderson continues to come in. He gets there, and the inning is over. The Blue Jays have taken a 3-0 lead on a pair of home runs. Rasmus and Goins. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the Blackberry Broadcast Studio. vacuum, Honda, the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, there's nothing like your first big league home run or drive of the game. It's got to be Ryan Goins' first big league homer. Somebody get out there and get that baseball for that young man right there. He deserves it.
He came into the dugout and got the silent treatment. Nobody wanting to acknowledge, and he looks down the bench and says, "Hey, fellas, I just hit a homer." Sal Fasano couldn't resist.
Yeah, he's such a good guy right there. He had to give his buddy a fist pump.
J.R. Murphy struck out his first time out. That ended the second. Looks like they have tracked down the baseball, and the security team will make sure that Ryan gets a chance to get that baseball back. That's awesome.
He had a milestone home run here with Chris Davis, right? He hit his 50th home run. He got the ball back on this homestand.
High fly ball to center. Should be an easy play for Rasmus. He is there and makes the catch. Murphy's retired, one down. Did you get your first home run back?
Yes, I did. And I have it to this day.
Where did you hit it?
I hit it in Wrigley Field. It was off of Dick Ruthven. It was a 3-run home run. And I don't remember, do I? 32 years ago. It was a 3-run home run that ended up being a game-winning hit because we never lost the lead. Got it back, got it signed. And it's on my trophy case to this day. How about you?
I hit mine so far they couldn't find it. No. Actually, I believe I have it. And it was in 1969 against Dave Boswell in the old ballpark in Kansas City.
Minnesota?
Minnesota, yeah.
Versus Minnesota?
Long home run. Big ballpark.
Big yard.
And then Ryan hits it off the end of the bat, and that squibs up the first baseline.
So you're not sure you have it?
I'm pretty sure I have it.
Somewhere. First hit? I mean, there's nothing like it.
What'd you get your Freitas on? First hit off of?
Yes. I think his name was Tom Griffin, I think.
Right-hander for Houston?
Yeah, but he was with, who were we playing? I think the Giants.
Yeah, he would have pitched for the Giants, yeah. Hard throwing right-hander.
Yeah.
Threw about 103, if I remember.
Crushed it right into the shortstop. He had to go in the hole and beat it out. But there's nothing like it. For Ryan Goins, he got his first big league hit in Houston, and now he gets his first big league home run. That's awesome.
Bouncing ball, big hop for Laurie at third. 2 down. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Beautiful shot of Roy Thompson Hall, not far from Rogers Center. 2 outs, back to the top of the order. Granderson has walked and struck out. Jay Happ has settled in very effectively. The Yankees had 2 aboard in the first. They couldn't cash in. Jay stranded 2. The Yankees have left 4 so far in this ballgame.
There was a time where Curtis Granderson had trouble with left-handed pitching, but not anymore. He has turned into a fine hitter, a fine ball player. Lefties don't give him problems.
Kevin Long had a lot to do with his adjustments hitting against lefty pitching, and Jay Happ has handled the Yankee lineup very effectively tonight. 4 2/3, just 2 hits allowed. He walked the leadoff man Granderson, then walked Alex Rodriguez in the third, and walked Soriano in the fourth. So far, that hasn't been a problem. And there he strikes out Granderson. Gets that ball down and away. 4 strikeouts for Jay Happ. They'll go to the bottom of the 5th. The Blue Jays have a 3-0 lead over the Yankees. Magazine. Sens stars Bobby Ryan opens up about his childhood being on the run from the FBI and how he survived it. Subscribe now at sportsnet.ca/magazine. Interesting articles throughout Sportsnet Magazine. Make sure you check it out. Cover story, very interesting, about the Sens star Bobby Ryan. Anthony Gose struck out against Phil Hughes back in the third. David Huff at the first out when he entered the ballgame, got a ground out off the bat of Moises Sierra. Then Ryan Goins hit his first big league home run. Goins, Gose, and Sierra have had a good opportunity to play since coming up from AAA Buffalo.
You know what? And each one of them has shown a little something that warrants a look for next year. They have shown improvement from last year, and that's what you want to see. First of all, young guys, are they adjusting? Are they making their way, finding their way in the big leagues? And each one of them showing improvement.
0-2. Gose strikes out. One down. Enjoying those big comfy green chairs in the TD Comfort Zone are guests of TD. Welcome to the ballpark, and again, you're being treated to a Blue Jays lead over the Yankees. A couple of home runs in this ball game. Kobe Erasmus, number 22. Ryan Goins, number 1. Reyes has doubled and popped out. Big cut on a fastball.
They're shortened up on the right side of the infield, thinking that Reyes might bunt against the left-hander. But the way he is swinging right now, I don't think he's going to even try that. Doesn't make any sense.
Now, it's really interesting, both Reynolds and Cano playing about double play depth. Maybe they just figure that if he's going to hit it hard, he's going to hit it to the pull side. And he takes another big wild swing at that pitch away. Stays on this pitch, but fouls it into the seats, out of play. There are so many big games going on, in particular in the wild card race in the American League. Jamie Campbell's done a great job of keeping us all up to date on what's going on around baseball. Bounce toward third, backhanded by Nunez. In time, 2 down.
Well, there's really just a couple of races. The great American League wild card race that you were just referring to, and who's going to win in the National League Central? That is going to play out to be huge, I think, for the playoffs. St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Who's going to win? Which two are going to be wild card teams?
Yeah, it's really jumbled up right now, but Washington has made it kind of interesting as they're inching closer. They're 4.5 back of the second wild card spot. Rajay Davis pulls it foul. Pittsburgh is trailing San Diego in Pittsburgh, bottom of the 6th, 1-0. Washington leading Atlanta 2-0, bottom of the 5th. Poked foul, and that's going to reach the seats. Colorado will host St. Louis later on.
Washington still has a monumental job.
Oh yeah, they need a lot of help.
They need some help, but they've closed to within 4.5 of the Reds for that second wild card place.
Strike 3 call inside corner. Davis is called out on strikes. 2 strikeouts for David Huff in the inning. We'll go to the 6th, and fan, here comes the home hardware cleanup crew, brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products. Alex Rodriguez leads things off for the Yanks into 6. Takes one down and in for ball 1. It's a high fly ball into center. Rasmus has room. He and Ghost collide together. You got to get your heads together, boys. One down. Rasmus makes the catch. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell.
You can clearly see that Colby Rasmus is calling that one. Then Ghost is a center fielder. He knows that on fly ball priority, it's the center fielder. If he calls you off, you got to back off.
1 out. Robinson Cano falls behind. 0-1. Kansas City's starting pitcher tonight is Bruce Chen, who's done a real nice job in their rotation. Danny Salazar has been very good. Rookie has made a heck of a contribution to the Indians' effort.
Kansas City, 350 earned run average, team earned run average, #1 in the American League. They have thrown 11 shutouts this year.
Yeah, they were criticized for giving up Will Myers in that trade, but I think it was a great trade given they had position players. They had a lot of young talent. They needed a veteran presence in the rotation. And there's not a better leader in all of baseball as a starting pitcher than James Shields.
And they got exactly what they wanted when they traded the minor league player of the year. And it's a trade that helped both clubs.
Yeah, Will Myers has done a terrific job. Joe Madden believes he should be the Rookie of the Year in the American League, and it's hard to argue.
So do I. I think he will win it.
J.B. Shuck of the Angels is going to get a lot of consideration, but I think Myers has had a bigger impact. Myers is hit in the cleanup spot. Rookies come up and stepped right into the middle of the order and has done a great job.
If he plays every game the rest of the way out, he will play 90 games for the season. Is that enough for him to win Rookie of the Year?
I think so.
A few years ago, Ryan Howard won the Rookie of the Year by playing in 88 games for the Phillies.
Willie McCovey, if memory serves correct, won the award for the Giants, and he played about the same number of games. He didn't play many games at all, but he came up and had such a dramatic impact on the season for the Giants. He won the Rookie of the Year award.
1959,
I believe it was. 52 games. McCovey played in 52 games in 1959. Hit .354 with 13 homers and 38 RBIs. Bouncing ball, that's a fair ball. Lynn will go to the bag. Cano thought it was foul. Cano is stopped halfway up the line. He had a good look at it, obviously. Brian Knight, the first base umpire, called it fair. And now Cano is pleading his case to Dan Iasonia.
Ball goes by the bag. It's the first base umpire's call, and he was all over it. Ball's hit by Cano. You can see where it hits right at the end. Hits in fair territory. It's just got to go over any piece of that bag. Yeah, according to that first base umpire, Brian Knight, he says he got it.
Alfonso Soriano batting with nobody on and 2 outs. Jay Happ's done a great job tonight, shutting down the Yankees on just 2 hits. Off-speed pitch, and Soriano had a big wild swing. This is the 16th start of the season for Jay Happ. He's only gone 7 innings once all season. He's done a good job of economizing on his pitches tonight, and he's pitching in the 6th with 2 outs.
Big help in that 4th inning. A walk, infield hit, double play, pop out, got out of it. Seems to have gained some confidence.
He's got confidence now. Another strikeout. A 1-2-3 6th inning. Blue Jays have a 3-0 lead thanks in part to Kobe Rasmus. He's homered in 4 straight games since coming off the DL. Rasmus 1 home run shy of his career high. Weeknights on City, million-second quiz where time equals money. Blue Jays are up 3-0. Beautiful full moon high above Rogers Center. Yankees have just 2 hits. Jay Happ is shutting them out. It'll be Laurie Lind and Rasmus. Kobe Rasmus scheduled about 3rd this inning. Laurie double to start the fourth inning and scored on the 2-run home run by Rasmus.
Brett showing a much better ability to go the other way and with authority. That double he hit to right field, he stayed on top of it, didn't pop it up, he lined it to right field.
This one's on the ground. Brendan Ryan, the shortstop. 1 down.
The 2014 Honda Odyssey, the world's first minivan with a built-in vacuum. Honda, the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Things are winding down at Rogers Center for the 2013 season. 2 more games left, or 1 more game after tonight left on this homestand, and then the Rays will be in for the final weekend series of the season. All begins Friday night, September 27th. Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday afternoon, and then we'll close the book on the 2013 season.
Just like that. And start making plans for spring training 2014. Might see a different club next year for the Blue Jays.
Lynn hits it off the end of the bat. This ball is carrying, but it's going to hang up for Vernon Wells. 2 down. Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Blue Jays. Disappointing season for sure. And questions about Adam Lynn. Do you bring him back? John Gibbons has been given the vote of confidence from Alex Anthopoulos to come back next year as the manager, of course. A lot of question marks. Who's going to be in the rotation? Who's going to be in the outfield? What kind of changes do you anticipate?
And some decisions that have to be made quickly, I think, with options. Right after the World Series, you got the Josh Johnson. You offer him arbitration. Adam Lynn, Casey Janssen, they all have options by the ball club.
Rasmus hits it past Reynolds, and Huff is there to take the throw from Cano. Good inning for David Huff. The Blue Jays go up, down in order. 3 up, 3 down. We'll go to the 7th. Blue Jays have a 3-run lead. East, that's their division, and those are the teams you have to beat. They have an 8-8 record against Baltimore, losing records against everyone else. Boston 7-9, Tampa Bay 6-10, and New York, of course. That's the most losses the Blue Jays have had at the hands of the Yankees in franchise history. So you've got to figure out a way to beat these teams in the East. And that's where the offseason really is going to be interesting for the Blue Jays.
Well, if half your games for the season, or just about half your games for the season, are going to be against these teams right here, all you have to do is sit down and say, okay, how do I beat Baltimore, Boston, Tampa, New York? And one thing that you could think about as you try to draw up a game plan, It's a league with a lot of great hitters, but a lot of small ballparks. So do I need fly ball pitchers, strikeout pitchers, sinker ball pitchers, ground ball pitchers? I mean, those are the kind of things I think you have to think about when you try to put a team together to win in the American League East.
Vernon Wells falls behind 0-2. I think the Blue Jays have one strength to compete in the East, and that's the bullpen. They have power arms in their bullpen, and that allows you to get outs without the ball being put into play. Now the question is, who goes into the rotation with Burley and R.A. Dickey? You have to figure out, can Esmail Rogers compete as an everyday starter? Wells strikes out. That's 6 strikeouts for Jay Happ. But obviously there's a lot of work for this team to do.
Well, one of the question marks has got to be Brandon Morrow. Can he pitch a full season competing in the American League East? You know, his stuff, there's no question. He's got outstanding stuff, and he can compete against any of these teams right here. Can he stay healthy to make 30 starts a year?
Brandon Morrow's only made 30 starts once in his career. That was in 2011. The most innings he's ever pitched, 179. And you just got to have more consistency to be able to predict what you're dealing with. Jay Happ misses with the second pitch. It's a ball and a strike to Mark Reynolds.
I remember when we were in Philadelphia this year doing the preseason exhibition games and we were going over the starting rotation. I said I thought he was going to be the one who was going to have the best season for the Blue Jays because his stuff really plays. It doesn't matter what ballpark you're playing in, his stuff really plays, and it just, you know, the injuries have hit him again.
Yeah. For his career, Brandon Morrow's 39-37 with an ERA just over 4. There's a high fly ball to left. Anthony Gose moves over into the alley, waits on it, and Reynolds is retired. 2 down. Jay Happ now pitching in the 7th with 2 outs, and the big turnaround for Happ tonight, his pitch efficiency. For the season, he's averaged 19.1 pitches per inning. Tonight, 13.8. He doesn't give the hitters a lot to look at in each at bat, and subsequently, he is pitching deep into the ball game. He's been much more efficient tonight. Thrown just 90 pitches, only 33 balls.
This is just like last night's game when R.A. Dickey, 4th inning, gave up a hit to Reynolds, got a double play, and then retired the next 10 batters. Jay Happ got a double play in the 4th inning. He's retired 9 in a row since then.
Ball and a strike, 2 outs. Nunez fouls off the breaking ball. Happ again is ahead, 1-2. The Yankees, 9th game of a 10-game, 11-day road trip. They went 3-1 in Baltimore, lost all 3 games at Boston, and lost the opener here last night.
Trouble scoring, and that's been the problem. Joe Girardi has done everything asked of him this year to get his team and keep his team in the hunt here late into September. They're running out of games.
Running out of games quickly. Two balls and 2 strikes. The Yankees with the possibility of being a 4th place club for the first time since 1992. There's a base hit. Gose has got to get over to cut it off. And he does. He hustles back into the infield to keep Nunez at first base. Eduardo Nunez is running very gingerly. Watch the way he comes out of the batter's box.
Right there. About halfway down.
This is a very demanding surface here at Rogers Center. It is hard, and you see a lot of players get sore playing a series here. 22-year-old J.R. Murphy making his second start behind the plate for the Yankees. Chris Stewart was back behind the plate last night. Austin Romine still unable to catch, coming back from a foul tip off his mask. Double barrel action for the Blue Jays. The left-hander is Aaron Loup. The right-hander is Dustin McGowan. Ball on a strike. Murphy got the hit out. Whoa. Hit it into the fifth deck. Been a tough season for Joe Girardi. Just trying to keep the Yankees afloat. Strike three call. Jay Happ drops the breaking ball on the outside corner. 7 innings for Jay Happ. He's shutting out the Yankees on 3 hits. He got some support from Ryan Goins. He'll bat second when we come back. Goins hit his first big league home run last time up. It won't be long before you're going to need your toque. And the Blue Jays Toque giveaway is presented by Allstate Insurance. Sunday, September 29th, when the Blue Jays take on the Rays. It's a 1:07 start. First 20,000 fans will receive a Blue Jays toque. Call the Jays at 416-341-1234 to pick up your tickets, or you can pick up your tickets by logging online to BlueJays.com. Or stop by most Rogers Plus locations. Blue Jays Toque giveaway, the final day of the season. It's all presented by Allstate Insurance. Moises Sierra has doubled and grounded out, facing Huff for a second time.
It looks like Huff is trying to do exactly what Andy Pettitte did last night to Moises Sierra. Cut that fastball in on the hands. Now, Sierra should say, okay, I'm going to take one shot, look for one pitch inside.
And then he throws one away.
He missed a spot. Catcher moved inside, and Huff actually got away with a mistake that time.
Boy, Huff has pitched great against the Blue Jays. Of course, he gave up the Goins home run. This is hit deep to center field, but Granderson backs up, and he'll make an easy play of it. 1 down. So Ryan Goins will come to the plate. Back in the 4th inning, Goins hit a memorable home run.
3-2. He's got to look for a fastball, and he gets one from David Huff. Into the stands. First big league homer. What's impressive about that is it came off a left-handed pitcher, turned on it.
25-year-old Ryan Goins is in the book. He's got a big league homer. He's made a nice impression on the Blue Jays. He has played solid defense. Looks very comfortable playing at second base. And he had played a total of 32 games at second base in the minors. But Luis Rivera was quick to point out that all spring long, Ryan Goins insisted on taking ground balls at third, short, and second.
Said he was the hardest working infielder in spring training this year.
He strikes out, caught looking. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. We got 2 down. Charlie Morton has done a great job for the Pirates. 7 2/3 tonight, just 2 hits allowed. He's punched out 8. The Pirates, boy, they are hanging tough. Justin Morneau with 2 hits tonight for the Pirates. And McCutchen, home run number 20. McCutchen has driven in 81.
What do you think about him being the NL MVP?
Yeah, he's certainly going to get consideration for that. He has really been a big part of what they've done. He had a great first half. Got them off and running. J.P. Arancibia, 0-2. Down and in. J.P. has struck out and popped out. David Huff in relief of Phil Hughes. Huff came into the game in the 4th inning with 1 out after Colby Rasmus hit a 2-run home run off of Phil Hughes. Huff entered the ball game, got Sierra to ground out, and then gave up Ryan Goins' first major league home run.
And then retired. He has retired the next 9 batters.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Full count. Anthony Gose on deck. Anthony has struck out twice tonight. 3-2 pitch. Pulled foul. Jay Happ has been outstanding tonight. 7 innings of shutout ball. He's held the Yankees to just 3 hits. Popped up. J.R. Murphy off with the mask and makes the catch. The inning is over. Another 3 up, 3 down inning for David Huff. But the Yankees are down by 3. Jay Happ shut them out through 7 innings. Brendan Ryan. Listen to live audio, follow games pitch by pitch, and enjoy in-game video highlights. The app is available on the iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, Android, and BlackBerry Z10. Season-long subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. Jay Happ back out for the 8th. Brendan Ryan, the shortstop, will lead things off. He rips the first pitch down the left field line. That's a fair ball, and a fan reaches over and grabs it. So Ryan has a leadoff double. So John Gibbons lets Happ start the inning, and now he comes out and he's made the call for the left-hander. So Jay Happ throws one pitch in the 8th. It'll be the second time Happ goes 7 innings this season. He's in line for the win. He will leave, shutting out the Yankees on just 4 hits. A very good outing for Jay Happ. This is his 4th start against New York this season. Second base, nobody out. Back to the top of the order. Curtis Granderson facing Aaron Loop, just entering the ball game. John Gibbons congratulating Jay Happ for a job well done. Happ goes 7 innings plus a batter.
Excellent job. Second time this year he's gone 7 innings. Season high in strikeouts with 7.
Anderson fouls it up.
Here are the numbers for Aaron Loop. 4 and 6 with a very good earned run average at 2.39. Last worked 4 days ago. That was in that Baltimore series when he picked up a hold in just 2/3 of an inning. You got Granderson a lefty and Cano a lefty. 2 of the next 3 hitters left-handed.
There's a base hit through the left side of the infield. Ryan had to make sure it was through. He moves up to third. Granderson with his first hit of the night. And all of a sudden, the tying run comes to the plate. And John Gibbons will go to the pin. He had Loop in to face Granderson. Granderson singles. Alex Rodriguez is the scheduled batter for New York. And Loop will hand the ball over to John Gibbons, who will exchange it to Steve Delabar, the big right-hander, in to face A-Rod with 2 on and nobody out. appearance of the season. And Delamar's had a great season, made his first All-Star team, and he's on into the ball game facing the potential tying run at the plate in Alex Rodriguez.
You know, we were talking about it earlier about the Blue Jays bullpen and how they finally have some big arms out there to get some strikeouts. Well, this is the perfect time and place where you need that. You got the tying run at the plate. You've got 2, 3, 4 coming up for the Yankees. You need some strikeouts. Steve Delabar has done that this year, 80 of them.
Alex Rodriguez walked into third. He's 0 for 2. He's flied out twice. Brendan Ryan with the leadoff doubles at third. Granderson at first. Sergio Santos last night overpowered Rodriguez with 3 fastballs. 96 and 2 at 97. It was no contest.
We talked about that in the opening. Santos and then Jansen to finish it off last night. They struck out 4 of the 6 batters they faced. No, this is the one that we were talking about. Wow, right there on the outside corner. Fastball right there. Rodriguez couldn't pull the trigger.
3 pitches and the strikeout. And Santos has really had a good fastball since his return. Thrown the splitter and got him to swing right through it. 2 balls and a strike. Nobody out. Yankees are in the top of the 8th. Inside. Rodriguez's bat has slowed dramatically. That was the case against Santos last night.
Yeah, he had a great fastball and he was putting it in a good spot, and Alex just couldn't pull the trigger on that fastball. He might be geared for one right here now that he's fallen behind.
At this point, especially this season, Rodriguez needs to cheat to get to the fastball. Robinson Cano waits on deck. Nobody out. 3-1. He cheated and still couldn't catch up to the fastball. And it was in a good spot, down and in, where you can drop the head on it. Delabar can use the same pitch and throw it away.
Keep it away from him.
The way Santos finished off the at-bat last night.
Maybe he'll give up on it. Looks like he's going to the splitter.
Rodriguez strikes out. One down.
You know, that's what makes Delabar so tough. You got to cheat to that fastball, and if you're thinking about it too much, he can throw that split finger fastball on you. A good spot right there, and Rodriguez goes right over the top. Not out of the woods yet.
Robinson Cano. 1 out. Cano is 4 for 8 against Delabar. Cano has singled in 3 trips tonight. Couple of all-stars going head-to-head.
These are great matchups. Late in the ball game, power pitcher, great hitter, tying run at the plate.
Over the glove of Goins, and Ryan comes in to score. Granderson stopped at second. I was surprised at that. He had to hold up to make sure Goins didn't catch it, and he couldn't restart his momentum enough to go first to third. Ryan comes in to score.
It looked like Goins had a shot at this one. Hit hard by Cano. And you're right, Granderson has to hold up, but Rajay Davis is coming over and having to backhand that ball. So he stops at second, holds off there. Cano wins that battle.
Alfonso Soriano, the cleanup man. Granderson at second, Cano at first. Still just one out. Driven to right. Davis back. It's over his head against the wall. Granderson's coming around third. He's going to score. Soriano will end up at second. Granderson scores, and it's a one-run game. Soriano delivers another big hit for the Yankees, an opposite field RBI double.
Says he's just trying to hit the ball hard with that thumb that's been bothering him. He got plenty of that one. First pitch, fastball down and away, and he gets the barrel of the bat to the baseball. Hits it over Rajai Davis's head. Granderson one more time had to hold up to make sure it falls. It does. And Rajai gets it in quickly. Second and third, one out. And now we'll see how the Blue Jays play it on the infield.
One out. The infield is halfway. Reyes and Goins now going to back up.
Well, I think they can play halfway because they're on turf, and Cano doesn't run that well. Cano's not running that well. We've seen him the last couple of nights, so anything on the ground, they'll still have a chance to get him at the plate.
Vernon Wells had a single off the pitcher's glove back in the fourth. Cano at third, Soriano at second. Blue Jays lead 3-2. Base hit down the left side. That's going to score two. Cano is in. Right behind him is Soriano. Wells is headed for second. He's in there with a slide. The Yankees have come all the way back and scored 4 runs here in the 8th.
You know, it happened so quickly. You got the middle of the lineup of the Yankees. The whole key, I think, was the first pitch to Brendan Ryan to start this inning, doubling to left field. Turns the lineup over. Granderson singles, and then you got to deal with Cano, Soriano, and Wells, and they all deliver. Back-to-back doubles, Soriano and Vernon Wells, and the Yankees take the lead. After that hit, Mark Reynolds is going to stay in the game. Lyle Overbay had come out on deck to hit against Steve Delabar, but Reynolds is now back into the game after that hit by Vernon.
Still just one out. The Yankees have taken the lead. 4 runs in here in the 8th. Cano with an RBI. Soriano with an RBI, and Vernon Wells with 2. Reynolds chases that high fastball. Ball on the strike. It's curious that John Gibbons would start the inning with Jay Happ and then take him out. He has been consistent using Steve Delabar to start the 8th inning as his setup man.
Tough for relievers to come in with runners on base as opposed to a clean inning. And the Yankees are making them pay for it. Yankees got a lot to play for. So they are digging in right now.
Gibbons had the matchup he wanted. He brought Loop in to face Granderson. Granderson got a single through the left side of the infield. Delabar struck out Rodriguez, and then Cano singled, Soriano doubled, and Wells doubled. Granderson has improved his fate dramatically against left-handed pitching, as you suggested earlier. And he got a key hit off of Aaron Loop.
Stayed right in there, kept that front shoulder in, and hit the ball the other way. And then Cano, as Darren Oliver is now getting loose. Cano had a big hit. His 5th hit now in 9 at-bats against Steve Delabar.
Cano has had a season of big hits. This is his free agent year. Full count, 1 out. Wells at second. Ball 4. So the Yankees, they've got a full bench. Lyle Overbay has made his way back to the on-deck circle. Dan Iasonia, the umpire, looking for some manager to make a move here. And now Girardi has announced Overbay into the game. So Overbay will come on to pinch hit for Nunez. Oliver is ready in the Blue Jays bullpen, and Overbay keeps looking into John Gibbons to see if he's going to make a move. And finally, Gibbons comes out of the dugout. So John Gibbons will bring in Darren Oliver, the fourth pitcher to work for the Blue Jays this inning. And the Yankees have taken the lead, 4-3 New York. Left-hander Darren Oliver comes in for the 48th time this season, and Oliver, as we mentioned, the fourth Blue Jays pitcher to work here in the eighth inning. He is on to face the pinch hitter, Lyle Overbay,
who stays in the game. Happ, Luke, Delabar, and now Oliver, 3 and 4, very good ERA at 3.88. He has really had his way with right-handers this year, hitting just 204. Once Lyle Overbay was announced into the ball game, John Gibbons wants the matchup, the lefty versus lefty.
Overbay 247 for the season. Overbay has turned into the everyday first baseman, not starting tonight, with Jay Happ starting for the Blue Jays. There goes Wells, and Aaron Seabia's throw is to second in time to get Reynolds. Reynolds broke behind Wells. He is thrown out for the second out of the inning. Aaron Sebia did a good job of not worrying about Wells and getting the out at second.
Well, Vernon got a great jump, but look at Reynolds, not a very good jump, not a very big lead, and a heads-up play right there by Aaron Sebia. You're not going to get Vernon Wells at third, but Reynolds, a little bit slow off the bag at first, is out. A big second out for the Blue Jays.
Good throw by Aaron Sebia, right on the money. So Wells goes to third base on the caught stealing. Now there are two down. Ball and a strike to Overbay. Breaking ball upstairs. Overbay has faced Oliver a lot. He's 5 for 22 against the veteran lefty. Drives this ball to center. Rasmus ranges back. Has a beat on it and ends the inning. But the Yankees score 4 runs in the top of the 8th. They take a 4-3 lead. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the Blackberry Broadcast Studio.
You know who we have to give the smooth move to tonight? We've got to give it to the Blue Jays team. First of all, Ryan Goings hits his first big league home run, and look at the team. The silent treatment. None of them looking at it. Look, they're all looking away from him. Just pay attention to somebody else. They can't keep it in. It's not like the Boston Red Sox where they're pulling on people's beards and things like that. They give him the silent treatment, then finally give him the high five with his first big league home run.
Very smooth move by the Blue Jays. David Robertson in the 8th inning with the Yankees leading 4-3. And they stormed back with a vengeance, trailing 3-0 going into the inning. And Brendan Ryan got it started with a leadoff double.
David Robertson pitched in last night's game in the 8th inning when the Yankees were losing 2-0. So this is a setup man. He gets a shot here to pitch in front of Mariano Rivera now with the lead. Lyle Overbay stays into the game, goes into first base. That pushes Mark Reynolds across the diamond over to third base as the Yankees try to put their best defensive team out there now that they have the lead.
Ichiro Suzuki comes off the bench to take over in right field. So the Yankees putting their best defensive team on the field with Reynolds at third and Overbay at first, and Chris Stewart back behind the plate. Anthony Gose has struck out twice. Bottom of the 8th. The ball on the strike. Boy, the Yankees may have their backs up against the wall, and they certainly looked like it when they came through with 4 runs on 5 hits in the 8th inning.
Boy, it shows their veteran not panicking.
Anthony fouls it off. He got a high breaking ball. David Robertson's got a good fastball and a wicked curve.
And he's got natural cutting action on his fastball where he picks up a lot of strikeouts to go along with a good curveball. He has always had one of the higher strikeout per 9 innings for relievers in baseball.
Breaking ball buried into the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
In fact, he has, in his first 5 big league seasons, he has averaged 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. Robertson, an excellent setup man in front of Rivera.
There's that curveball, and Gose is struck out for a 3rd time tonight. That's a tough pitch. It's hard. It comes out of his hand at the same angle as his fastball, and it catches Anthony Gose.
Only pitcher in baseball history to have 5 straight 10 strikeout per 9 innings to start his career.
Jose Reyes, the leadoff man. Bouncing ball, big hop for Cano. 2 quick outs for Robertson here in the 8th. Rajai Davis, he's been held hitless tonight, 0 for 3. Mariano Rivera loosening up that right arm.
That little medicine ball that he uses, a little heavier than a normal baseball, just to get those muscles loose in the shoulder.
Whatever he's done, it's worked for a long time. He's 43 years old. He is tied for second in the American League with 43 saves. Davis hits a piece of that breaking ball.
90 miles an hour with a little cut action at the end of it. Tough. A lot like Mariano Rivera to square that up.
One ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Bottom of the 8th inning. Blue Jays down by a run. There's a base hit for Davis. Davis is aboard with 2 outs, and the Yankees have a 1-run lead, and they've got the great closer down in the bullpen, Mariano Rivera, with 651 career saves. Trevor Hoffman, Lee Smith, and John Franco.
651 saves. But it's up to Robertson to get the ball to him with this lead.
Brent Laurie's got to give Davis a chance to steal.
He's got a huge lead over at first base. He's not going to be around there very long.
You just got to imagine you're not going to string a lot of hits together against Robertson or Mariano Rivera.
Yeah, so you got to take your chances when you can. Robertson caught stealing 1 for 7.
Huge lead. There he goes. He got a great jump. Pitch out is on. Stewart's throw is high. Tying runs in scoring position.
Yankees guessed right that the Blue Jays were going to go early, so they pitched out. And Stewart does a very good job. Very quickly gets the ball, but it's high. And that allows Rajai to get in there with the stolen base. Joe Girardi's going to talk what I think he wants to do. Robinson Cano was trying to get the attention of the Yankees. Where do I play with Rajai Davis? Do you want me to hold him on at second base? Does that run mean anything? So Joe Girardi's going to go out. They're going to talk about it. They're going to make a pitching change.
David Robertson will come out of the game. Mariano Rivera will come out of the bullpen, and you can hear the crowd react. Big situation for the Yankees. Mariano Rivera has been there before.
got to play your hand right now in the 8th inning. You've got the lead. You've got a runner at second base. Brett Lawrie at the plate, so you bring in Rivera. You're going to try and get a 4-out save right here. Everybody in the ballpark knows what's coming. That unhittable cut fastball from Mariano Rivera. 43 for 50 this season.
The Yankees are in a desperate situation. This is the 4th time in the last 7 appearances Rivera has come into the ballgame in the 8th inning.
Got to play it. Got to go with your best. No tomorrow, so you got to play the big guy right here.
This is the 94th career appearance for Rivera against the Blue Jays. He has 53 saves in 59 opportunities. He is 8-2 for his career against the Blue Jays. In 93 games, he's allowed 4 home runs. Brett Lawrie with the tying run at second. The count is 1-0. Lawrie goes after that cutter and fouls it out of play.
You know, it might not be as hard as it was 10 years ago or whatever for Mariano Rivera. I mean, he was 94 miles an hour, 95. Now it's 91, but it's still effective.
Bouncing ball. Cano waits on it at second. And Rivera closes out the 8th. He gets Lawrie to ground out. The Blue Jays strand a base runner. We'll go to the 9th. New York has a 4-3 lead. Dustin McGowan into the game. It's a night game, 7:07. Then Saturday and Sunday, both day games starting at 1:07 p.m. Call the Blue Jays for tickets at 416-341-1234. Log on to BlueJays.com to order your tickets, or you can always stop by most Rogers Plus locations and pick up your tickets for the Blue Jays-Rays final weekend series of the season. Well, lots going on here as we head to the top of the 9th. Dustin McGowan is into the ball game, making his 22nd appearance of the season.
He was up earlier tonight working with Aaron Loop in the 7th inning, then sat down. They went through 4 pitchers. Now McGowan will start the 9th inning here. And the first batter that he will face will be Ichiro Suzuki.
Suzuki came into the ball game as a defensive replacement, but he was put into the 8th spot in the order where the catcher was batting. Ichiro takes his strike.
Very smart move by the Yankees right there. Get Suzuki in, a better defender. You get Chris Stewart into the game, a better defender. and you guarantee that he gets an at-bat here in the 9th inning.
Well, he's the kind of guy you want to lead off the inning. Yankees trying to build upon their one-run lead. Ichiro in last night's game was 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts. He's now 2 for his last 22. Ball on his strike. Gets a base hit. They better cut it off. Davis over quickly. He cuts it off and keeps Ichiro to a single. Good play by Rajai Davis in right. Now time for a preview of what's coming up on Connected. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak. Thank you, Ivanka. That'll all be up right after this ball game on Connected. But first, Brendan Ryan with Ichiro at first.
Everybody knows what's happening here. They got to be bunting him over. Play for that one run. That's why you see the throw over to first base.
Ryan didn't tip his hand. He held his batting stance as if he were hitting away. Well, he got the Yankees rally started in the 8th. They got a leadoff double off Jay Happ, and that set the tone for the inning.
Yankees not afraid to use the sacrifice.
He squares and gets hit by a pitch, and they call it a foul ball. He jumped out of the way. Ryan squared to bunt, and then Sonia ruled it a foul ball. This is in his kitchen, boy. Watch how he gets a piece of it and bunts it straight down, and clearly it was a foul ball.
Just trying to get out of that way as that ball was tracking inside. Yankees, third most sacrifice bunts in the American League.
They don't have that same power lineup that we've seen in the past. Ryan. Another check in on Ichiro. Yankees could play hit and run here as well. Rodriguez on deck, followed by, Curtis Granderson is on deck. Left-handed bat, then Rodriguez. Squaring the bunt and pops it in the air. Lowry makes the catch. Ryan couldn't get the job done. McGowan did a good job of using that fastball and crowding Ryan. It's exactly what you want to do.
Make him feel a little bit uncomfortable. You see the barrel of the bat goes underneath the handle of the bat, and that's surely going to get the ball in the air. You got to keep that bat at a 45-degree angle to make sure it gets on the ground.
Ichiro's still at first. Granderson takes one outside. Yankees lead it 4-3. Suzuki with 20 steals. He's been caught just 3 times, so he is a threat. Got to keep an eye on him.
And I think what Joe Girardi is thinking right now, how can I get Robinson Cano up? I gotta make sure that I have my best hitter hit in this inning. One more base runner has to reach base to guarantee that.
Interesting that Girardi went down to say something quickly to Brendan Ryan at the end of the dugout. You just have to imagine, hey, forget about it, it's done. Think about defense. It's over with. Don't worry about it. You can't get it back now. Granderson, 2-1. Big swing and a miss. Blue Jays are just 4-13 against the Yankees this season. But they'd love to rain on the Yankees parade. Here's the 2-2. Hit to right. Davis has it measured, makes the catch, 2 down. Now Granderson's retired. That sets the stage for Alex Rodriguez against Dustin McGowan. Two outs. Ball on the strike.
McGowan's got that big fastball. He's just going to challenge him. That one was in a good spot right there. Fastball slider. That's what you'll get from Dustin. Except they're going to throw over again. They think Suzuki might be taking off here. He's getting back easily.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good feel for McGowan now. 20 for 23 this season for Suzuki. He got a bigger lead. Still getting back without much problem.
Yeah, he can take another half a step or maybe even a full step. McGowan doesn't have a great move over to first base if they want to think about stealing.
There he goes. Rodriguez hits a fly ball to center. Rasmus back. This should end the inning. Rodriguez is out. The inning is over. McGowan leaves a base runner. Mariano Rivera got the last out of the 8th inning. He'll try to close it out. Lind, Rasmus, and Sierra. Blue Jays down by a run. Ontario. NHL regional restrictions apply. Mariano Rivera got the final out of the 8th inning. He got Brett Laurie to ground out the 2nd, and he is looking for his 44th save of the season. He is without question the king of the closers. In save situations, Mariano Rivera has a 1.96 ERA.
That's almost like automatic. When Rivera's in the game ahead of Wagner, Eckersley, a Hall of Famer. Hoffman will probably be a Hall of Famer, and the great Lou Smith. A 196 earned run average, that's what you want to have right there when you want to win a ball game, a big game. And the Yankees have been in a ton of big games in his career, so nothing is going to phase this guy. 651 career saves.
259 career saves against the American League East. Mariano Rivera looking for a 4-out save. He's had 116 career saves of more than one inning. This would be 117. Adam Lind will try to get something going. He's 0 for 3 so far. Facing Rivera for the first time tonight. Lind is 2 for 7 head-to-head against Rivera. If you think there's an advantage to lefties or righties, left-handers have hit .209 for his career against Rivera. Right-handers .215.
So he's better against lefties than righties.
It's a coin toss.
Wow.
And that's the reason why right there, the way he gets that cutter inside.
He has shattered so many bats in his career with that. And it's not just the regular season. It's the postseason where I think he has really made his name.
The irony of these numbers, look at the saves. 42 saves and 47 attempts. ERA 0.90. But 42, of course, is the number on his back. Lind gets a base hit. The Blue Jays have something going to start the inning. Lind is now 3 for 8 against Mariano Rivera. So Rivera gives up a leadoff single.
Cutter in on the hands again and doesn't get the full extension, Lind, but he gets it just out of the reach. Well, Brendan Ryan, a leadoff single, and he'll be pulled.
Kevin Pillar comes off the bench to run for Adam Lind. Colby Erasmus has homered tonight. There's a base hit into right. Pillar is going to stop at second. Ichiro comes up throwing. And Erasmus with his second hit. Back-to-back singles against Rivera here in the ninth.
It looked like another cutter, but this one is up, and it's over the middle of the plate. Rasmus has been seeing the ball, and he pulls that ball very quickly into right field, and Blue Jays get the first 2 runners on. Now some decisions for both the Yankees as they meet at home plate and the Blue Jays.
Moises Sierra is the scheduled batter. He is not on deck. You would think Kawasaki might come up to pinch hit, and here he comes. Kawasaki will come up more than likely to sacrifice bunt. So he will bat for Moises Sierra. Lind single, Rasmus singled right behind him. And now Kawasaki, who is the best bunter on the Blue Jays team, he has 7 sacrifice bunts, will be called upon to pinch hit.
You know, by far he is their best bunter, and he works at it. They have speed on the bases, so it doesn't have to be a perfect bunt. What's going to be interesting to see is how the Yankees are going to play this. Are they going to try and get their runner at third base? Or are they just going to try and get it out and then work from there?
Fans, a reminder to viewers in the Western Pacific, we'll be taking you to the preseason NHL action at the top of the clock. Our game will continue on Sportsnet Ontario. NHL regional restrictions apply. Overbay at first is really crashing down on Kawasaki. Reynolds at third. Kawasaki squares the bunt and takes the ball. Overbay finishes up about 20 feet in front of home. So Kawasaki's got to bunt it to third.
Got to try and make Reynolds, the third baseman, bunt the ball. Thought they might put the wheel play on where the shortstop comes to third base and everybody crashes.
Take. So strike, 1-1. That was a surprise. Kawasaki never showed bunt on the second pitch. Mariano Rivera in some trouble here in the ninth. Overbay Coming down from first. Kawasaki squares and takes it outside. There's an interesting space for Kawasaki to bunt. Cano has a tendency to vacate his position at second and go to the bag quickly. And if Overbay crashes, you might be able to bunt it right between Overbay and the pitcher's mound.
And get a base hit right there. Just get it by Lyle Overbay.
Overbay's got it. Go to third for the force. Reynolds may have been spiked by Pilar, making sure that he didn't have a return throw to first. Rivera checking on his status. So Pilar's out on the force out. Blue Jays can't execute the sacrifice bunt, and you can see Pilar's right foot catching the inside of the right foot of Reynolds.
Yeah, he stepped on him right there.
Overbay's a terrific defender with a true arm. He made a good throw to third. Ryan Goins, his first big league homer came in the fourth. 1 out. Goins' first look at Mariano Rivera.
Wouldn't that be something? First shot at Rivera. Come up with a big base hit.
Bouncing ball. Cano goes to first. All they can get is Goins at first. The runners move up. Ball was chopped off home plate. So now the tying runs at third, Colby Rasmus. The winning runs at second in Kawasaki.
Yeah, how about that? That works like a sacrifice bunt right now.
The game is on the line. 2 outs, 2 on. Yankees up 4-3. J.P. Arancibia. Arancibia is 0 for 5 against Mariano Rivera.
Well, he knows exactly what Rivera is going to do to him. Look for a ball out in front, cut the swing down and get a hit. A long swing is not going to get it done against Rivera.
Mariano Rivera gave up back-to-back singles to start the inning. Kawasaki couldn't get the sacrifice bunt down. Goins then grounded out to second. Cut on and missed. Rivera saves it for the Yankees. Arancibia strikes out to end the ball game. New York with a 4-run 8th inning. Stormed all the way back to win it 4-3.
What a huge win for the Yankees, who need to win every single game. This one looked like it was in the bag for the Blue Jays. They were cruising, but the Yankee bats come up with 4 big runs, and then Joe Girardi gets 4 outs for Mariano Rivera to steal a huge win for New York.
Girardi never hesitated, brought Rivera in to face Laurie. The teams have split the first 2 games. We'll be here tomorrow night for the finale. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Connected coming right